Hi, Professor Wainaina here, your 5 minutes teacher on education, childhood, youth, parenting, and all things school. Welcome. Sometimes we as parents feel or are told that our child is struggling. But the distinction between a child who is struggling and one who is simply not yet ready is a line many parents unintentionally blur, and it's a misinterpretation that can have far-reaching effects on a child's development. A 5-month-old baby who is not speaking isn't struggling. They are just not at the developmental stage for speech. And similarly, a 5-year-old who hasn't yet mastered reading is not behind. They are navigating the natural arc of readiness. By rushing a child toward milestones they aren't prepared to meet, you risk creating frustration, eroding confidence, and sometimes instilling a lifelong anxiety around learning itself. It's understandable why parents might fall into this trap. Modern parenting can feel like a performance where children's achievements are measured not just against developmental benchmarks, but also against societal expectations and even academic pressures. But these indicators can be misleading, and research on cognitive and physical development highlights the significant variation in readiness for each milestone. Jean Piaget's theories on child development underscore that children progress through cognitive stages not at a uniform pace, but individually, often showing readiness for certain skills only once they have reached a particular stage of mental development. Pushing children towards skills they are not developmentally prepared for will lead to unnecessary stress and may even derail their natural growth. The idea of readiness is rooted in brain maturation. Neuroscientific research reveals that the brain develops in predictable patterns, but with considerable individual variability. Neuropsychologists have shown that complex tasks like reading involve a network of cognitive skills like memory, phonological awareness, and visual processing that develop on separate but interdependent timelines. So, a child's ability to read fluently depends on the maturation of these underlying abilities, which may occur at different ages. By expecting reading from a child who is not ready, you overlook the natural variability in brain development and risk labeling them as struggling when they are simply progressing along their own timelines. Confusing readiness with struggling will lead you to press your child into activities for which they lack foundational readiness. For example, a child who is encouraged to read before their neural networks are primed may come to see reading as a chore rather than as a skill. Similarly, the expectation for preschoolers to recite numbers or letters prematurely when they are not primed for such rote tasks can distort their perception of learning and self-worth. When your child is repeatedly corrected for failing to meet these premature expectations, they will internalize the idea that learning is a series of tests, each one measuring their inadequacy. Therefore, as a parent, by recognizing the difference between readiness and struggling, you can make a more attuned approach to your child's growth instead of focusing on what your child is supposed to be doing according to a vague timeline. Try observing what your child is naturally drawn to and engaging with without strained effort or too much assistance. Children show signs of readiness in ways often mistaken for playfulness or curiosity. And these behaviors signal their brain's way of inviting learning. It's this interest that you should be looking for. When allowed to unfold, this natural interest builds the foundation for all future skills. Maria Montessori, for instance, designed her entire educational philosophy around the principles of readiness, encouraging children to engage with activities at their own pace and rejecting the notion that success could be forced through artificial milestones. When a child is ready, they engage with challenges with eagerness rather than resistance. This is a valuable lesson for you as a parent. Readiness eliminates struggle. Children are driven to achieve once their minds and bodies align with a particular skill. Pressuring them into it prematurely is like pushing a plant to flower before it has taken root. In our haste to watch them grow, we sometimes forget that it is the soil, the water, and the sunlight that ultimately determine the timing, not the gardener's impatience. Allow your child's strengths to reveal themselves in their own season. Push too soon, and you risk not only uprooting the flower, but burying its potential. Thank you for your time. See you in the next lesson.